All right, it says I'm live on the YouTube. All right, here we go. Live video starting on Facebook. We're getting up. All right, here we go. So let's do what do they call it? Catchphrase. If you've been divorced more than twice, it's a no for me, dog. Um, Look, real estate investing partnerships. It's a question I've been fielding a lot in the last couple of weeks, 3 to 4 times this week, as a matter of fact. So I know it's on a lot of people's minds. Today, during this stream, I'm gonna present to you a presentation I did a few years ago, talking about how to choose the best partners, what to look for. What's up, y'all? My name is Jay Helms, founder of the W2 Capitalist and the BRRRRs for Busy Parents. I have no idea why I'm stumbling over my words there, but we help married busy parents find and fund 1 to 4 properties a year. And today we're going to talk about partnerships, because sometimes it just makes more sense to have a partner than to try to do it on yourself. Usually one partner has more time than they have capital, and then the partnership has the opposite of that. So they have more capital than they do time. So they typically work pretty well if you partner up with the right people, right? So we're going to dive into this. And just for the record, I have more than a couple dozen partners that I'm happily working with. Even more that I'm happy that I'm no longer working with. And they are actually the reason why I created my partnership criteria in the opening statement. A little teaser there is part of that. But before I get into that, let me bring up the presentation here. There's something else I want to talk about, and it's growth friends versus maintenance relationships. Let me make sure I'm getting the right screen up. Yep, that's the old presentation from a while ago. And we're going to talk about growth friends versus maintenance relationships. First thing I'm going to do is define both. Growth friend, and this leads into where you're potentially going to find your partner, right? The right partners. And so this is just a little bit different version of the 5 people that you hang around with the most. It's a quick little exercise I'm going to challenge you to do here in just a minute. But let me define what both of these people are in all of our lives, right? So growth friends, by definition, they motivate you. They're also hungry to grow their wealth. They are doing great things in life. They hold you accountable, right? They want to see you succeed. Those are all characteristics of a growth friend. Let me check one thing, make sure we're livening it up, because there's been some issues with the live streams here recently on the YouTube. All right, I think we're good. But all right, so that's a growth friend, right? Maintenance relationships, you can also call them stagnant friends. They're happy with their current level of life. They're happy with their current level of income. They're happy not doing anything to grow, right? They're very self-centered, and they're always probably complaining about politics and news. That's probably a maintenance relationship for you. So if you think about growth friends, they're pushing you, they're holding you accountable. They want you to succeed. They want you to grow. If they don't fall in that category, it's pretty much just a maintenance relationship, right? This also happens to be family members for some folks. You have growth family members, and you have maintenance relationships on family member sides too. Here's the exercise. So grab your phone. Don't know where mine is. Grab your phone, right? And go to your most recent calls. And now that you know the definition of who your growth friends are, let's go down through let's just choose the top 20 most recent phone calls. We're going to do text messages here in a minute, but we're going to go through this exercise. And your last 20 calls, as long as it's a personal connection, whether it be a friend, a family member, coworker, somebody you're spending time with routinely, get out a sheet of paper. I forgot about this. Get out a sheet of paper. At the top, you're going to make 2 columns. One side says growth, one side says maintenance relationships. As you're going through your phone, your last 20 calls, you know the definition of a growth friend. You know the definition of a maintenance relationship. The last 20 calls, you put the first name of the last 20 people you talked to on the phone in one of those 2 columns, right? Once you get done with that, now you go to your text messages. Most of us communicate primarily through text now anyway. And so go through your text messages. Go to the last 20 text messages. Same thing. If they're not already on one of the columns, put them either in growth, friend, or maintenance relationships. And I'll give you you guys pause the video for now if you're watching the replay. As we're doing this live, I'm going to kind of stick to the next point. This is a spoiler alert for everybody who's watching this. As you go through this exercise, the majority of you're going to be very heavy on maintenance relationships. And that is tough. There's probably some names on there. It could be mom, could be dad, could be brother, could be sister that are on the maintenance relationship side. And what I want to challenge you to do as over time, as you work to being very cautious about where you're spending your time, who you're talking to, who you're spending time making text messages with, and slowly turn that on its head, right? Because you don't necessarily cut out maintenance relationships. There's some relationships you just can't cut out altogether. But be very specific with your time, where you're spending your time, because the more you spend time with growth friends, the more likely it is that you're gonna achieve your goals, right? So that's just a quick, really quick growth friends maintenance relationship thing I wanted to cover. Now let's get into how to find the right partners, right? By the way, this slide deck is from a presentation I did a few years ago. And I didn't even take the time to update it. I just kind of grabbed it and went with it. So I'm going to skip past this because we're all terrified of real estate investing partnerships if we've never done one, right? But here's an old African proverb. And I've stated this many times. I've been very guilty about saying this very line: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with partners. And I'm telling you here today, as time's gone on, I've kind of transitioned, and I feel like I've grown, especially with partners. My viewpoint on this is this might be one of the stupidest things I've ever said. It's one of the dumbest things that's ever come out of my mouth. It's cute. It makes for a good social media post, right? Give those folks who are raising money the kind of warm and fuzzies. But the reason I no longer like this quote is because it simply implies that you have to choose one or the other, right? And I don't particularly like that choice. And so I adjusted a little bit here, right? Now this is me, a little boy from Glencoe, Alabama originally, right? This is my version of it now, and I'm sure it'll evolve to even better stuff over time. But if you want to go fast and if you want to go far, you go with the right partners, right? It's very important, important words to underline there. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, well, that's easier said than done. How do you find the right partners? You're correct. It takes some time to do. And as I started this video out with my line about being divorced more than twice, then it's a no for me, dog. That is one of my partnership criteria, right? And so before we get into establishing our partnership criteria, this is another exercise, second exercise, last exercise for this live stream, just to show you how people may think differently, right? And why it makes sense to maybe find a partner who strengths your weaknesses and you are their strength to their weaknesses. Hopefully I said that correct. Okay. So this is an exercise that I was reminded of as I was listening to Zig Ziglar this morning, or yesterday morning, but it's pretty simple, right? How many squares do you see? And I think I can highlight. Let's see if I don't know if y'all see this or not. Move this over here. Yeah. Okay. So how many squares do you see? Well, for most of us, initially we're going to say, well, there's 4 squares across, there's 4 squares down. That's easy. That's 16, right? And that's true. There's one black square there, 2, 3, 4, and it just goes down. But here's the other thing. When you add these two squares, now there's another square, right? We can do the same thing over here. There's another one. So now we're up to 18. We can do the same thing on the bottom, right? There's another square. There's another one, right? Now we're up to 20. Matter of fact, this whole thing is a square. Now that's 21. And then we can go down the middle. Here's 22. Here's 23, right? And so there's some folks who looked at this and said, oh, there's easily 16 squares. That's it. Actually, there's 23, right? But wait, there's more, right? And here's what I mean by other partners. So let's just think if you go through this and now you have a partner who says, well, wait a minute. Let's just, there's 23 squares on the surface, but let's zoom in on this pixelated graph, right? So we're going to zoom in on just that one corner, and we continue to zoom in and we continue to zoom in. And lo and behold, this actual one square is made up of millions upon millions of squares in the original picture, right? So there's some of you, like me, who saw just 16 squares. Had somebody else point out to me, no, there's 23. And then had somebody else point out to me, well, actually, if I were to zoom in, the whole thing is just millions of squares, right? And so it is one of those things where if you look at things in a different way than they do, it's a good thing, right? So back to the quote, if you want to go fast and if you want to go far, go with the right partners. Find somebody, that maybe this is the exercise you introduce to your potential partner and see what they come up with to see if y'all counterbalance one another. But that leads me to the thing I really want to talk about today was partnership criteria. This is, within our industry, investing criteria is what's talked about. Matter of fact, I think that phrase has been tossed out, and I reluctantly say this. There's a couple of people who are going to see this and say, man, Jay, you went there. Buy box is the key phrase for investing criteria. By the way, if anybody ever says buy box, I know they're new to investing, but anyway, or you follow a certain person. Anyway, partnership criteria is something that's just not talked about in our industry enough. I think is extremely important. I wish I would have developed mine way before I had to because many partnerships have failed. They have failed. And so this is what I want to talk about, just going through this. I'm going to give you some examples of, and this is, as I was thumbing through this real quick, this is even updated for me since the 3 years when I presented this 3 years ago. But the more partnerships you do, the more you're going to learn, oh, I need to add this to my criteria. Oh, I need to add this to my criteria. So let me show you. I've got just like 3 or 4 bullet points in my partnership criteria. And this is point number 1. I got to get to know the potential partner for a minimum of 6 months. Truth be known, all the partners I have now, I've known them. I knew them way longer than that prior to us doing a deal together. The reason I put this in here is because I get a lot of people messaging me and saying, hey, I got this great deal. Do you want to partner with me on it? And I simply say, look, I'll happy to look at it with you. My partnership criteria is I got to get to know you, at least the first one anyways, I got to get to know you for at least 6 months before I do a deal with you. And that's not a phone call today and a phone call in 6 months from now to check the box. Like I want to know how you're treating people, right? And so when I put that in there, I don't usually hear from those folks again who message me that want to partner. So minimum 6 months. Again, want to know them, not just have a phone call today, a phone call from 6 months from now to check the box. That doesn't do it for me. The next one is wrong slide. They have to have a history of successful acquisitions or exits, or like I was talking about earlier, fill in the gap where I have a weakness. This didn't used to be in there. I used to partner with people as I was just starting out. I was also partnering with people who were just starting out, and it seemed to work. But as my investing career has progressed, I don't want to partner. I'll work with you. I'll coach you. I'll mentor you. I don't want to partner with you on your very first deal. Just something I don't want to choose, right? And then the next one, preferably, is you're married with children. It's a real big bonus. Children is not that big of a deal, but married is a bonus because it shows that other people are willing to put up with you and make big commitments with you. That's a big thing. Now, I also have partners who are single, still single, will probably be single for their entire lives, and that's okay. Like that's not. I know them well enough. It doesn't really matter, right? Like that's how they want to live. Perfectly okay with it. But here's kind of the kicker, and this is where I noticed this has been updated. I actually say you can't be divorced more than twice in this. And this usually kind of gets a chuckle out of people when they say, why? Well, that's kind of weird. Well, I get that some people get married young. They make wrong decisions, right? They correct it, and they get married a second time. And those people I'd be happy to entertain the conversation with a partnership on. However, if you are divorced more than twice, here's what that tells me is either A, you don't know how to make real important life decisions, or B, you don't know how to treat people. And neither of those two do I just really want to mess with at this stage in my investing career, right? So this has actually been updated. Can't be divorced more than twice. So those are my top 4 partnership criteria that I use today. And then I'm going to give you, just to kind of close this out, I'm going to give you a couple of questions here that may help you further develop your partnership criteria. These questions come from the book, The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. Highly recommend the book, highly recommend the read. And here they are, right? When you're considering any new opportunity, whether this is a partnership, whether this is just a deal that you're looking at on the MLS, anything like that, any new adventure, right, or venture, here are the 3 questions. A, what's the upside? Pretty self-explanatory, right? B, what's the downside? Like, what is the absolute worst that could go wrong here? And then C, the kicker is, can I live with the downside? Like, that's upside's awesome, downside is horrible. Can I live with the horrible side? We can all live with the upside, right? Or something in between, but it's the downside, the worst case scenario. Is that something I can live with? So hopefully this is helpful for you. If you're watching, or at any point in time you're watching this, you have a question, you want to pop it in there in the comments, please do. I will get back with you. If you are looking for, if you went through the Growth Friends exercise and you're like, oh, I just have maintenance of relationships, no wonder I've been stuck on property 0 for the last few years. We have a virtual community of married, busy parents who are willing to and wanting to help you out, and be your growth friends. Reach out. There is a link somewhere around here, around this video, where you can reach out. Let's get connected and let's get going. Anyway, hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully this has been helpful. Let me know if it has, and I'll see you